The winter morning was cold enough to make even the busiest street feel quiet, but in front of the small neighborhood bakery, life was still moving. Steam rose from trays of freshly baked bread, mixing with the smell of yeast and warmth that felt almost unfair to those standing outside in thin clothes. Among them were two little girls, twins by the look of them, no older than 8. Their shoes were worn at the toes, their sweaters stretched thin, and their hands were locked together as if letting go might make the world fall apart. They stood there longer than anyone else, not because they were deciding what to buy, but because they were deciding whether to ask for help at all. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why compassion still matters. The twins had learned early that hunger is patient but shame is louder. Their mother had passed away the year before, and their father, once strong and hopeful, had slowly disappeared into illness and exhaustion. Some days he could work, some days he couldn't even stand. On mornings like this, the girls took responsibility far bigger than their age, walking through cold streets with coins counted again and again in their pockets, knowing it would not be enough. They didn't ask for sweets or extra rolls. All they wanted was one loaf of bread to last the day. Inside the bakery, the owner was busy, distracted by the rush and the noise. The girls finally stepped forward, faces pale, eyes fixed on the counter rather than the man behind it. They asked softly and carefully if they could take a loaf now and pay later. It was not the first time they had asked this question somewhere, and it would not be the last. Sometimes people said yes. More often, they said no with tired eyes and apologetic smiles. Standing a few steps behind them was a man no one noticed at first. He wore a simple coat, nothing flashy, and his hair was touched with gray. To most people, he looked like just another customer waiting his turn. But this man was a self-made millionaire, someone who had built companies, lost people he loved, and learned the hard way that money could buy comfort but not meaning. That morning, he had come for bread like anyone else, but what he overheard stopped him cold. He listened as the twins explained, in broken, careful words, that their father was sick, and that they promised to return with money soon. Their voices carried a weight far heavier than their bodies, the weight of children forced to grow up too fast. The bakery owner hesitated, torn between sympathy and his own worries. Rent, bills, and losses made generosity feel risky. The man behind them felt something stir that he hadn't felt in years. He remembered being a boy with holes in his shoes, standing beside his own sister in a shop much like this one, pretending not to be hungry while adults decided their worth. Success had taken him far from that memory, but it had never left him. The twins were gently turned away, the loaf still on the shelf behind the counter. They nodded politely, thanked the baker anyway, and turned toward the door with the kind of quiet acceptance that hurts more than tears. That was when the man stepped forward. He paid for his bread, then paid for another and another. He asked for a bag large enough to carry more than he needed, his voice steady, his hands calm. Outside, he followed the girls as they walked slowly, already planning how to tell their father that today, again, there would be very little to eat. When he reached them, he didn't speak in dramatic words or grand promises. He simply placed the bag into their hands. Inside were loaves of bread, still warm, more than they had seen in weeks. The girls froze, unsure if this was real or something that might disappear if they moved too quickly. The man didn't stop there. He walked with them to their home, a small, worn apartment where the walls told stories of better days long past. He saw the father lying on a thin mattress, shame in his eyes for a situation he could no longer control. The millionaire didn't judge, he listened. He saw not failure, but a family crushed by circumstances. Over the following days, what he did next quietly transformed their lives. He arranged medical care for the father, not as charity, but as a bridge back to dignity. He ensured the girls would have regular meals and warm clothes. He helped the father find work suited to his recovery, something that gave him purpose instead of pity. None of this was done with cameras or public praise. It was done because he remembered what it felt like to be unseen. The twins changed too. Their shoulders slowly relaxed. Laughter returned in small, surprising moments. School became a place of possibility instead of embarrassment. Bread was no longer something begged for, but something shared. Months later, the man returned to the bakery. This time, the girls were with their father, healthier, standing taller. They bought bread with money earned honestly, pride shining brighter than any coin. The baker watched, confused and moved, unaware that one overheard moment had rewritten an entire future. As you listen to this story, take a moment and comment below with a or the word kindness if you believe small acts can change everything. Your comment helps spread these stories to more people who need hope. The millionaire never told anyone what he did. For him, the reward was not recognition, but the quiet knowledge that he had answered a call he once wished someone had answered for him. He learned that day that generosity doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, placing warm bread into cold hands, reminding the world that compassion still exists. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps stories of humanity alive, and together, we can remind the world that even in its darkest moments, kindness can still break through.